All right, big news coming in. Iran's Revolutionary Guard says that hypersonic missile has been used to attack Israel. In a statement, the IRGC said that in the 11th wave of Operation True Promise 3, it hit Israel using Fattah missiles. It said the missiles passed through Israel's defense shield, sending a strong message of Iran's authority to the enemy country. It said the attack showed that they have complete control of the skies, what it called the occupied territories, and warned that the Israelis are defenseless against Iranian missile attacks. So this is the big development that we're getting at the moment. Iran's Revolutionary Guard says that hypersonic missiles have been used to attack Israel. The IRGC said that the 11th wave of Operation True Promise 3, it hit Israel using Fattah missiles. It said that the missiles passed through Israel's defense shield, sending a strong message of Iran's authority to the enemy country, and also saying that the attack showed that they have complete control of the skies of what it called the occupied territories. Now, Ms. Bloom, if I could just quickly come back to you on this big development that we're getting at the moment. Of course, we know that US President Donald Trump said that we have complete control over the skies, over Iran. Right now, we are getting this development that the Iranian Revolutionary Guards say that they have used the hypersonic Fattah missile to attack Israel, also perhaps to show that they have complete control of over the skies. What I also want to bring attention to the fact is, if you were just to talk about Israel's preemptive strikes, Operation Rising Lion, do you think right now we're seeing a complete breakdown of the preemptive defense model in West Asia, and perhaps also a complete breakdown of the red line deterrence model in West Asia?
Well, to answer your last question, no, I don't think we're seeing a breakdown of that. But obviously, we'll know that the answer to that question when we see the outcome of this war. It's a little hard to speak of it when we're right in the middle of it. But my assessment is that this is not the breakdown of preemptive strikes, that it is something that is going to show what it means to defeat an evil enemy and get it done once and for all. And I think the people who will be most happy about it are the Iranian people. But getting back to your question about the hypersonic missile. Now, it's clear that that message that Iran released was in direct response to Trump's post on Truth Social. We have control of the airspace, right? So it's clear this is mimicking Trump's message. This is what the Iranian propaganda machine does. It mimics the messages. Now, it's possible they launched a hypersonic missile just now. I am in touch with my children. Right now, am visiting New York, but I live in Tel Aviv normally, and my children have been sending me messages about being in the shelters. I'm on the app that shows the attacks and the damage done, and when there are sirens. And if it doesn't matter whether they use that missile or not, what matters is what it struck and how many people were killed or how many buildings were destroyed. And the answer is so far, not many. Okay, now, and this evening, I don't know if there's an update on that, but even the shrapnel that hit the U.S. Embassy branch in Tel Aviv was very small. I mean, there was a little damage, some glass broke, as happens when there's a blast. Many windows get broken around the shops where they're near a missile, and an interception as well. The interceptions make a loud blast as well, not just the missiles falling. So we will see. But I think Iran is running very scared, which is why it said, wait, maybe we'll negotiate, and why it is being careful with how many missiles it launches now. Because when it runs out of those missiles, and when Israel finishes destroying its launchers, it has no more strategy. Its only strategy is spreading radical Islam throughout the region and the world. Israel has an actual strategy to take out the nuclear facilities and to remove the Ayatollah's power and money over to spread terrorism around the globe. Those are very different aims.
Right. I just want to bring in another perspective as well. We were speaking to Professor James A. Russell as well on the day that Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, and he had something interesting to say about this as well. He was talking about how you cannot simply just bomb Iran's nuclear program out of existence, which is essentially what we're seeing right now. What do you have to say about that?
Well, Well, I'm not a military expert, so let's say he's right. I mean, I have no reason to assume that he's wrong. You may not be able to bomb it out of existence. You can set it back very, very severely into the future. And in the meantime, if you defeat the Ayatollah led regime, which is really disastrous, it's disastrous for the world, but it's also disastrous for the Iranian people. You know what Iran was like before the mullahs took control, before the Ayatollah Khomeini came back from exile in 1979. Iran was modernizing. You had women in miniskirts sitting in cafes discussing literature. Iran was a completely different place from what it is now, with women getting murdered if they're not covering their hair properly. So what the point is, you have to totally weaken such a regime's ability to enrich uranium. And by the way, it's enough if we take out missile launchers. A missile is no good without a launcher. It can't do anything unless it can be launched. So we are doing many things simultaneously with a lot of intelligence information. This operation, you should know, has been in the works, planning stages, for 19 years. So that tells you something. This is not a spur of the moment attack. And you can't just say that, well, if your enemy is evil, then don't bother trying to defeat him, because it's no good. It'll just escalate and you'll just find yourself back where you started. That's a bad attitude. If the world had that attitude, or it did maybe early on with Hitler, everything would have been different. I think there is such a thing as needing the West, and the good powers in the world need to defeat this evil enemy.
Right, Ms. Bloom, quickly before we run out of time, thank you so much for mentioning that. You said that this has been in the works for 19 years. And just on that, yesterday we were also joined by independent journalist Anthony Lowenstein. And what he had to say that, what is the plan for the day after? If Israel, let's say, were to achieve its stated goals in this war, what happens the day after in Iran? What is the plan for that?
Well, I don't know that the Israeli government has a plan for Iran for the day after. Iran is an independent people, an independent country. I can tell you what the hope is. The hope is that once the mullahs are completely weakened, once the regime is completely decimated, that the Iranian people who have been trying to take to the streets for years and being gunned down every time they do so, that this will free them up from the fear that if they do that, and if they start to find a replacement, that the fear of being tortured in prison or shot down by the besieged militias, I think that the day after will be up to the Iranian people. But knowing how the Iranian culture, I trust them to build a better society afterwards. It's one they want.
All right, Ms. Bloom, thank you so much for joining us on WION World is One with your insights and your perspective on this.
Thank you for having me.